Hello and welcome to Sully Sports Talk. I'm Derek Daly. I'm here with Travis Hendricks. Our host today is Sandra Chambers. Sandra? Sandra. Our host today is Sandra Chambers, and she is the Assistant Athletic Director, Compliance Officer, and Senior Women's Administrator.
Correct.
We're going to have a couple questions for Ms. Chambers here. Travis, you want to ask her the first one?
Coach, you do a little bit of everything. I call you Coach because you were the former softball coach, but you do a little bit of everything within the department. You're a former softball coach, as we said. You're currently assistant AD, mentioned game day administrator, and you also handle compliance. Of all those duties, which one is the most demanding in terms of time consumption?
Well, first and foremost would be the compliance officer. It's year-round. You have to certify athletes year-round. You have to get transfers in year-round. You have to be able to get transfer information back to yourself and certify all the athletes that participate in athletics here at Sul Ross. So that's almost a full-time job in itself. But I believe it takes more time. We've always done in the past. We've always been paper. Everything's been done by paper and pen, and I'm trying to bring that to the 21st century and utilizing computers more and trying to get most of that automated. So the time consumption will hopefully go down. And we've just recently started a new committee. I'm the chair of the new compliance committee that will hopefully help us understand as a university that it's not just the athletic department that's responsible for compliance in the NCAA, it's the whole university. And that hopefully will help the NCAA understand that we do understand the responsibility of compliance and that we're gonna have a better understanding of how the university needs to comply. But it's definitely compliance.
With doing so much, do you find that your job kind of changes as the sports seasons progress? You know, you're doing one thing, softball, basketball, you kind of have different job duties, things like that. You find you kind of have to switch gears a little bit?
Yes, quite often. With volleyball and basketball, I help Travis with the live stats and the stats. So I'm involved with that, where softball and baseball, I'm not so involved with the statting. It's a little bit more manageable for one person. But so you do change hats as the seasons go along, and it's been an adjustment for me, from standing out on the field to being behind the scenes and making sure everything works smoothly. If you don't see me, then I've done a good job, I feel like.
Coach, talk a little bit about your history with Sul Ross. You were instrumental in starting the softball program, you earned your degrees, but what was it about Sul Ross that you found appealing, not just as a student, but also as a coach and an administrator?
Well, it all started back when both of my parents are graduates of Sul Ross. My father graduated from Sul Ross with his master's in chemistry, and my mother graduated with her bachelor's degree in biology. So we were here as a young child. I believe I was in junior high here with, I think Pete Gallego was just ahead of me. So I was here in Alpine prior to coming to college, but I've always enjoyed the smaller school atmosphere where you're not just a number, where you actually can speak to professors and get help. I think that's one thing that led me here. The other, of course, was that I was an athlete in high school, and I attended DeSoto High School and wanted to continue playing sports, so I felt like that was my best opportunity to do so, and pursued basketball and volleyball here as an undergraduate, and then went into the industry. I worked for Dresser Industries and Bell Helicopter for a while after I graduated from college with a bachelor's degree in chemistry and math. And then later on in life, I decided, you know, when I wanted to have a family, I wanted to try something that was less time consuming, I thought, by teaching and coaching. And DeSoto actually offered me their first softball job.
I see.
So that's what led me into the teaching and coaching. And after being successful there and having a couple of really good years and being coach of the year at a 5A school, which was the largest class at the time, Dr. Sample actually offered me a GA position with him to try to bring softball on board as a intercollegiate sport. So I got to initiate the first softball program both in high school and college.
Now, that was, what year was that when we first started softball?
In 1997.
Okay, 97.
96, 97 was the first.
Wow, so almost 20 years into the program. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
It goes by fast.
I'll ask you kind of the same question I asked Coach Metzger. When you have been a previous coach, and you kind of have to move into the administration version of it a little bit, how do you find yourself kind of getting pulled into the old coaching ways instead of, kind of looking at short-term goals and looking at the team instead of kind of trying to pull yourself out and looking at the broad spectrum of things?
That was a very big change, I would say. I think initially at first you do, but in order for any university's program to grow, you obviously have to look out 5 or 10 years. And you have to learn how to do that as an administrator, where when you're coaching, everything's in the moment. You've got to build the team for this year, and you worry about next year in the middle of your off season. So I do believe that it took a little time to adjust, to focus on a longer term goal and not always having those short term goals right in front of you. And I don't know, I think Bobby and myself both have been here coaches and now being administrators. I think we see how far we've come just in the time we've been here. And I think that gives us a good idea of how much more growth we feel like we can bring to the university in the athletic department. And I'm just excited to help him build a better program for our athletes so that they have a better college experience.
Sure. Going back to compliance, Coach, it's almost like being a doctor or a lawyer in that you have to constantly keep tabs on how rules are evolving, changing, or being added.
Yep, and that was a big step for me, and one of the things that I did right away was attend the NCAA Regional Rules Seminar this summer in Denver, Colorado, and went through an extensive training, 5 days of going in and out of meetings, talking about all the different bylaws and the rules and the regulations and how to certify athletes, and I feel like that was one of the best things I could have possibly done to help the university and me fulfill this job in the best way possible. It was a huge step for me. I learned so much that week while we were there. And then the NCAA has really done a great job of helping us out as compliance officers. There are 2 online systems that we're able to look at now. Of course, the request and self-reporting system, which helps us look at other institutions that have had problems and how they solve them and what the penalties were for those, so that we know what we're looking at if some of these small secondary violations happen. How do we report them, and what are we looking at as far as having some type of repercussion from that? And of course, every university has a few small things that happen along the year. I feel like if you don't report anything, then you're not really doing your job, because I feel like everybody makes a mistake every now and then. And just being honest and being able to report it and take the consequences is a big step. And then of course we have the LSDBI, which is the legislation service database that we can rely on to help us understand and really get into the base of the rules and the regulations. So there are things out there that have helped me tremendously step forward with this job, not knowing a whole lot about, other than softball, about the compliance component for all the other sports and for all the athletes for that matter. And lastly, I think ARMS is going to be a huge step for us. I think that's going to help us tremendously in the athletic department as soon as we can get it fully operational.
A lot of what you're doing right now with basketball is game day operations. And that we're going to hopefully be hosting a tournament here in Sul Ross, the ASC tournament. What's your role with that, and kind of what are you doing to prepare for that?
Well, I will be the director of the tournament, so it'll be a hot seat to sit in for the next couple of weeks. We've already scheduled a meeting with the university, upper administration of the university, to let them know what we're looking at as far as needs for the tournament and how we will have to accommodate 7 teams here in the small town of Alpine and do a bang-up job. We want to do the best job. We want to make everybody impressed with Sul Ross and show them how much we have grown in the years, and we want to be the best we can be at this point. And I think it'll really shine through for this tournament if we get to host it. I feel like we're there. We know what it's going to take to put on the best show possible, and we want to step up and do a grand scale job of it.
Sure.
Coach, what's the biggest transition you've had to make professionally, going from a coach to an administrator?
Stepping away from the student athletes, I guess. You don't get that interaction anymore with the student athletes that you used to have as a coach. So you kind of have to step away from leading them to become model citizens and role models in the community to being a role model yourself for the coaching staff and help them become the best coaches they can become for the university so that our programs grow with the conference and make us compete like we are in basketball right now with a first-year coach. That's an incredible job that he's done. Cliff Carroll has done an amazing job with these student athletes, and part of it I do believe is bonding and team camaraderie and things like that play a huge role in being successful.
Sure.
And I feel like that is our job as an administrator, is to make sure that our coaching staff has that same camaraderie and that same cohesiveness, and we're all striving for the same goal, to make this university known in the American Southwest Conference, and we all want that to happen, not just as a coaching staff, but the university, I think, has shown us that they're behind us in wanting to be in the forefront of the AASC when it comes to athletics.
You have several different job titles and you do so much for the university. What's your favorite part about your job?
I guess I got to say a favorite part,
or several favorite parts.
It would be game day administration. I love being involved with all the sports.
Mm-hmm.
I was a multi-sport athlete in high school. Again, I tried to be a multi-sport athlete in college, but college work is a little bit tougher than high school, so I had to give up one to pursue my goal as I approached the end of my degree time. So, but I enjoy all sporting activities, so I feel like that's the one thing that I really do enjoy putting my time and effort into, is making sure our venues are the best they can be and have a good experience for everybody involved for our home games. And so I've really enjoyed being involved in the game day administration. So if I could pick, probably that.
Coach, my last question is, one of the big issues that is discussed frequently within athletics is student athlete retention. What are some of the things that department leadership tries to focus on when it comes to fostering a consistent and high retention rate?
Well, I think, again, I spoke on this earlier, was camaraderie along in the department. Mm-hmm. You know, I think if we work cohesively together to recruit top athletes that are good students, you don't have to work so hard at retaining them, because they're there to play because they want to be. We've been honest with the student athletes about the atmosphere and what Alpine is like, and you have to go out and recruit the kind of student that wants to be in this kind of an environment. And I think our new coaching staff has done a tremendous job of doing that. I think all of them have gone out and worked hard at getting student athletes that like the small college atmosphere, that like knowing almost all of the students that you go to school with, whether they're a freshman or a senior, and being involved in the university. I think that helps retention. We allow, as a Division III school, we allow the kids to get involved in other things besides just sports. So having them involved in Spanish club or theater or whatever their interests are other than athletics, I think helps us retain students at Sul Ross. So I would have to say that's a big part. And then having our athletes feel appreciated by their coaches, appreciated by putting out all the hard work that they do. And we've, in the past couple of years, I believe we've had more academic All-American athletes coming out of our sports programs, which is a great thing to have happen. And I think that helps promote student success as well and retention.
Absolutely. My last question for you, one of the many things that you're kind of got involved in with Sul Ross coming up is going to be the the Hall of Fame banquet.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that.
Well, we're really excited about that. This is going to be the first year that we're actually going to induct a whole team. And it'll be the women's team of the 70s, early 70s, that won 2 national championships. So I'm looking forward to getting to mingle and meet some of the people that my parents actually went to college with. My parents were here during that era, and my father actually played tennis with Coach Whitley. And so he knows some of the volleyball players from that era, and so did my mother. But I'm really excited to get to see some of those women come back and tell us a little bit about their experience at the Hall of Fame banquet, Hall of Honor banquet, and then I think it's grown in the last 3 years to become something that people want to attend. It's a great alumni function where we can revisit with people that we haven't seen in years. Besides homecoming, it's another event that we can pull the alumni into and get people back to appreciate how far Sul Ross has come since the 70s, maybe. But I think it's going to be a great time, and the venue looks to be wonderful. It's well presented. And the meal they serve now is just top notch. I think we have done a really good job of promoting that Hall of Honor banquet. And I'm kind of glad that they have taken it away from homecoming, because it does give the honorees a chance to shine outside of homecoming. And I think it makes them feel a little more special. And we definitely want that to happen. If they're being inducted into the Hall of Honor, they've had a special time here at Sul Ross, either supporting athletics or being in athletics. So we want to show our appreciation and give us something that's really spectacular.
Well, that's about all the time we have today. We'd like to thank our host, Century Bar and Grill in downtown Alpine, and of course our guest, Sandra Chambers.
Thanks
for joining us.